All right, we're on. So coming out in 3, 2.
Good morning, Columbus, and welcome to another edition of From Our House to Your Home, the Remodeler Showcase. My name is Marty Reed. I'm your host, and the show is brought to you by Frog Hauling. If you want to clean your garage, your yard, your basement, you're moving, whatever, you just have to get rid of all that stuff you've accumulated over the years, think of Frog Hauling. And if you're a remodeling contractor and only the best product will do for your customer, again, think of Frog Hauling. We carry 5 different sizes of containers, so you never pay for more container than you need. Do you like that?
I think it's fantastic. You get better every time you do it.
And I don't even read it off a sheet of paper.
That's the impressive
I'm talking to Michael Morris of Morris Media, who is going to participate in the interview that I have this morning with our guest, Ryan Brown of Freedom Windows. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, I don't know what you're going to contribute in this process.
As always,
but
about
that's all
nothing.
right. You can sit there. And folks, if you want to see who I'm talking about, this interview will be posted on Facebook. You can just go and take a look at
Well,
it, right?
we're on Facebook Live, but we will put this on the Frog Hauling. We need people to go to Frog Hauling on Facebook, give them a like, because all of these shows will be on there, but you can watch it on
Someday.
Facebook Live. Yeah, I mean, we're going to get to it. We got a lot of projects we're doing.
I think I need frog hauling for my garage.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
We're
Especially
here to
this time of
serve.
year. Yeah,
We're here to
that's it.
serve. But what we're here to do,
Yeah.
talk about today, Ryan is from Freedom Windows, and we're going to talk about replacement windows.
Yeah.
An exciting topic. I'll tell you why. 4 years ago, I moved into my condo, and I had wood windows. And like a lot of experiences people run into with wood windows, you got to open them and they won't open.
Right.
And you
Shut
start
at
pushing and
times.
They look
pushing.
really nice unless you want air.
Yeah, and they were, again, they were not energy efficient. They were single pane glass. You remember those days when you
do.
had one piece of glass and Dad would walk out, on a Saturday morning, wood windows, and he'd get out the caulk and he'd be swearing and he'd be chipping that stuff up. Now that's a long time
Yeah.
ago. You don't
The,
have
the
that
little
anymore.
house on the prairie school windows is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
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 I thought that was all you had, was that one choice.
Well, in my hometown, that's all we had.
I still see a lot of them.
Yeah, no, they're not all gone yet, trust me. It is amazing to me, and we're going to go into some detail today, folks, about what makes a good replacement window, because obviously if you're thinking about that, you're going to want to know. And quite frankly, there are a lot of good replacement windows in the marketplace
Absolutely.
today. I mean, if you listen to the radio at all, you hear all the advertisements for the window companies, and there are a lot of window companies out there too. But my limited experience is that there is a big difference in the replacement windows today. One of the terms that we hear is it's a vinyl replacement window, and I'll tell you, women love those windows because the sash tilts in so you can clean the outside without getting on a ladder. But one of the flaws with a vinyl window is that if you don't buy a quality vinyl window, they break down. And what do I mean by that? Sagging sash, they no longer want to open up right, all those kind of things. It's kind of in the window industry. And Ryan, I'm going to have you comment on this. You kind of get what you pay for. You can go buy builder, I'll call them builder grade,
Absolutely.
And in my lifetime, I did a lot of replacement windows. I had a lot of properties that I owned, and I replaced the old aluminum windows, that sort of thing. And I used the builder grade because it wasn't my house, and it wasn't. I was not going to live there, and I figured, well, I'd sell it sooner or later. But they look nice, you know what I mean? So, anyways, Ryan, we're back to you, Ryan Brown of Freedom Windows. I put everybody on the spot, and I'm going to put you on the spot too.
Great.
You get to talk about yourself, not
Oh.
Freedom Windows. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are.
Sure.
I don't care what you
Yeah,
talk about, just
yeah.
so they get to know you.
Well, I think that's really important actually because, you just said there's a lot of differences behind windows and things like that, but no matter how good and expensive and quality and all the bells and whistles a window can have, if it's not installed properly, if you don't have the right service behind it that's there tomorrow for you, that window is not worth anything. So a little bit about me. I've been in the industry since I was, well, right out of college. I was 21 years old, and I went to Ohio Northern University, and I did not go polar bears.
Okay.
I did not think that I would ever be in the home improvement industry. I don't think I knew a fascia from a soffit. I just didn't even. I cleaned gutters when I was a kid, and things like that.
Mowed the lawn at your dad's house?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I was working in the health industry, cardiac rehabilitation, things that just I was in an office, and I had a buddy who was selling windows, and he was really enjoying it. He was having a lot of fun, and he seemed to be making a lot more money than I was making, and
Which is always key to your development.
I go, where'd you get that car? He was a little older than me, and he was wise when it came to certain things, and he said, hey, I can get you a job. And long story short, I ended up doing this as what I thought was going to be a couple months while I put resumes out there after college.
Yeah.
And I just had a blast and was learning a ton. And here I am going around telling people what to do for their home, and I've never even owned a home.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a crazy racket, and I learned a lot. Just like a kid going through school may have great teachers, and some may have bad teachers. They become a teacher because they want to maybe do it better than they had the experience. So I had worked for some good and bad companies, and I took it all in, and here I am 20 years later, running Freedom Windows and taking all of that I've learned in the last 20 years to make sure that the customer has just an outstanding experience. Not a good experience, not a great experience, an outstanding experience from start to finish.
Okay, that leads me to my next question. Now talk about Freedom Windows. Who are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we are Freedom Windows is new to the industry because it's a new product, it's new technology. We do have vinyl windows, but we do carry wood windows. As a contractor, I mean, we can get anything somebody wants. But we do have an exclusive product line called the Freedom Window. If you go to our website, thefreedomwindow.com, you can learn all about it. But we are known for energy efficiency. We're a conscious company who really thinks about our environment, thinks about the money you're spending on heating and cooling, and we really want to make sure that before you make this type of investment, and it has to be an investment. In fact, other than maybe buying a car and a house and a college education, this may be the most expensive thing you ever purchase. So it's important that you educate yourself and get online and look at reviews and get knowledgeable before you go and spend $10, $15, $20, $30,000 on your home for something like this, because you don't want to do it again. It should be a one-time thing, and it should last you as long as you own that home. So we're all about education, and we have some really neat products that are the most efficient windows in the industry right now.
Well, one of the things that I found whenever I did windows, and actually I've done windows in a couple of homes.
You just did them kind of recently, didn't you?
Well, in my current location, where I live now, Hollywood, I did. No, I'm just kidding. We're bringing you the show from
you looked
Los
famous.
Angeles,
Yeah.
folks. No, I replaced patio doors, entry door windows, and the house before that. I live in Upper Arlington actually, and it had leaded windows. And so, although they looked nice, they were horrible. They were the wood windows.
They were not efficient.
Yeah. And I didn't care much about the look. I mean, it kind of architecturally fit into the age of the home, but I was able to get around that, and I replaced the windows there. And then in a previous house I lived in Arlington, it had aluminum windows. It was one of those big ranches down by the river. And that is to be the worst invention of mankind.
Well, I want to ask you something
Yeah.
about those windows. Why there was a trend for a while to do that? Was that because you would choose that based on I have, let's say, 12 windows? Like some of these homes that as they were getting bigger, it seemed to be more you're going for overall efficiency in terms of the cost, not so much the window. You know what I mean? So they all would match throughout the home. Is that why the aluminum window? Or maybe Ryan can answer that. It just seems like there's between, I'd say, somewhere in the 80s, it seemed like everybody had those in a home.
Here's the thing. Think about it. That trend didn't last very long, did it?
No.
Because people realized very quickly that aluminum is one of the most conductive things out there.
Right.
And when you're
Yeah.
trying, the whole idea behind energy efficiency in your home is keeping the heat, because if we understand the law of physics, heat rushes from where it's hot to where it's not. So the summertime, you're trying to keep the heat where? Outside.
Right.
You're trying to keep your house nice and cool. In the wintertime, you try to keep all that heat that your furnace is producing in your home. And so the weak link on your home is the windows and doors. And that's where we have terms called like R value, you may be familiar with. R stands for resistance of heat flow. So our goal in the industry is to produce and engineer the most efficient windows by getting the R value higher, just like miles per gallon. The higher the number, the more efficient. And so with an aluminum window, the idea was, hey, it's maintenance free. You can put an aluminum window in there. It's not going to rot out like a wood. You can have it longer. And they started doing more double pane stuff because it was a stronger frame. Vinyl just wasn't around yet. Very quickly they realized these are not efficient. Energy costs are rising. Things are getting crazy with heating and cooling. So they had to look for more alternative options. And then the evolution of more efficient windows, vinyls, fiberglass, things like that came about.
Don't you wish you knew a lot about windows?
Well, we're going to get into that because we're going to talk in detail about his window. But what he's really talking about is the history of windows,
There you
Yeah.
go.
right?
Well,
Here's how, can I
Yeah,
kind of,
go ahead,
I'm
man.
going to give the layman's history of windows because I've told you that I replaced windows in 3 different houses. Now, maybe 4. So that's a long period of time, maybe 30, 40 years.
when most people only have done this once, if ever.
Yeah. I like spending money on
Yeah.
windows. I don't know.
Windows is the only thing that you've ever talked about that, like when you talked about I had to do this or the driveway had to be blacked out. Those were all negatives. When you've talked about replacing windows, it was almost like that was candy to you. Like I can't wait to get those out and get something new. That's the only time I've heard you not.
That-
Like,
Okay, now I'll give you the bottom line. One of the things that Ryan said earlier is it's maybe one of the larger costs when you're doing remodeling in a home. To me, it isn't. And the reason it isn't, he just talked about R value and efficiency, all that sort of thing. Guess what happens to your heating and cooling bill?
they go down.
They go down, so it's a net investment,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Plus, there's nothing better than being comfortable.
That's true.
Okay, so kind of the history of windows, folks, and this is important because I'm going to have Ryan talk a little bit about why Freedom Windows, and so maybe this is kind of the history lesson beforehand. What we had were those, I remember them, they were kind of that off silver kind of aluminum windows, single pane. They were horrible. In the wintertime, they would ice up, right?
You'd have to put towels.
They were,
underneath it.
yeah, they were just the condensation, everything. So then window manufacturers said, wow, we need a replacement window. There's a market for this, right? So they said, aluminum. Why? Because it's strong. It had structural integrity. And then they could flirt with double pane glass and they could talk about, oh, well, the R value and all this, and it was still a junk window, okay? Then came into the marketplace, the big thing was vinyl windows. The problem with vinyl windows when they first came out, there were numerous problems. One, they would clad them and say, yeah, we could do, a brown exterior and you could have a white exterior. And before you knew it, the exterior that was clad to the vinyl started peeling off, color discoloration, all kind of things. But the biggest thing was there wasn't a structural integrity to those windows. They hadn't figured that out. Then they decided that they were going to reinforce those windows and put metal frames inside of the vinyl. Guess what? Condensation problems. And it really didn't solve a lot of the problems. So then you had the traditional window manufacturers. We all know the name, the big boys, Pella, Anderson, whatever.
That's what I was thinking.
They
was
were
Anderson.
cladding wood, and that wasn't perfected because they were using an aluminum cladding. Guess what? Moisture got behind that, and 10 years later,
And you have
the
rot.
window rotted again, and away you went.
Termites love those windows.
Yes. I mean, so we have gone through this whole progression over the years of replacement windows that really didn't do the job, okay? The marketplace is totally different now. The manufacturers, they've even introduced a fiberglass window out there for structural integrity, okay? The cladding process, you don't have to worry about discoloration. You can use triple pane glass. There's different techniques for that. And guess what? Just like Freedom Windows, lifetime warranty. Well, they don't give lifetime warranties unless they have a good product because there were, and you'll remember this, you've been in the industry long enough, there were vinyl window manufacturers out there that went out of business because they couldn't fulfill the warranty claims. I mean, they were spending millions on fixing these windows that were falling apart.
Well, that was big in the housing crisis. That was a lot of the thing was people weren't buying windows, but their windows were breaking down. And
Yeah.
these companies were just folding up because they had no new business flowing in,
Yep.
but they had to repair the things that they
Oh
sold.
my gosh, yeah. So it's kind of an industry that went through a growth period that I think we finally reached a point where we're at where we've got quality products out there. It's not just Freedom Windows. There's a number of
Absolutely.
manufacturers. Okay.
100%.
Do we have to take a break, George? Is
We
that
do.
what you're? Okay. Okay. God, you talk too much.
Yeah, it was probably all me. It was probably all me.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a break, and when we get back, we're going to talk with Ryan about his window. What makes his window different? And if, like I said, if you're in the marketplace, pay attention. There's a big difference between the windows that are out there today and perhaps the type of window that you might want to put in your house. So we'll be right back.
Yeah, I don't know how the timer got stopped when I came back in. It had stopped for some reason.
So that's like
Well,
2
I was
seconds.
watching that. We started at 10.
Oh, okay.
And I
Well, if you want
figured,
to watch that.
No, it's okay. I was looking at that timer there that says 13 right now.
Right, and it was when I came back in, it had stopped.
where do
for
you
some
see
reason.
that? 13?
Yeah, that's the timer I was looking
Oh,
at.
I thought. Oh, we only went 13 minutes.
No. We went
Like
over 15.
16.
Yeah.
Oh, we're good then.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that timer there was wrong. So when I'm looking at it, I was telling George we'll go to 15, but I realized that they're off.
Yeah.
Okay, we can convert this to 2 shows.
Yeah.
We did enough bullshit enough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's okay. People just know you're not very Christian. So.
I didn't mean that, folks. Honestly, it's just when
He
you
says
do
it all the
this,
time.
believe me, I'm always nervous that
That's
I'm
all he ever says. He doesn't even say any other words.
that
Hang on.
I got this time bubble I've got to fill, and I want to make sure I give my guests the right amount of time.
What a bunch of bullshit guys.
I'm trying to. Oh,
I know.
boy.
It's all right. No one's gonna be mad.
Yeah, we're not live. That would be Don Juan that puts us live.
Yeah.
Facebook is live though.
No, I
Yeah,
know.
but
It's a
We were
joke.
live on the air one day because Jim hit the wrong button. Is what he said.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, believe me, everybody knows about it. Jim hit the wrong button.
I missed that story somehow.
Trisha Moore sounds really boring. All
That was wow. That's a good one. Okay.
right, so if we were at 16 or 17, Julie.
Hang on here.
We're gonna delve into his window now.
Right.
It is.
Like I worked at lifetime warranty.
Oh, nice. Okay,
I listen. Unlike you, as I told Ryan,
What'd you
I'm
say?
prepared.
That is at 16. Looks like 16:15.
So we got about 10 and a half. 10.
Uh,
I want to aim at like a round number.
okay. Yeah, you could probably go 11.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's start again here.
Trying to think which. So we'll use that clock up there, the 9:29.
Okay. I mean, I'll start this.
Oh,
too,
that'd
just
be cool.
because- Yeah.
Yeah, if
and
you
I'll
could start that.
stay in here. Let's see. Start. Reset it. All right. So let's start a new file. Okay. We will start over. Coming down in 3, 2.
Welcome back, everyone. Once again, we are talking replacement windows today, and we have with us Ryan Brown of Freedom Windows. And now, Ryan, I'm going to grill you, buddy.
Please.
We're going to talk about what makes a really good window. But before we do that, tell the folks your website,
Sure.
how they get in touch with you.
Sure. You can easily call 877-WINDOWS. It's easy enough, right?
Yeah.
Or you can go check us out on our website, which is very informative. We try our hardest to keep our website up to date and lots of information, which is thefreedomwindow.com. Thefreedomwindow.com.
And one of the other things is service area.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we service Central Ohio. We try to keep ourselves within a 60-mile radius. We are located and founded in Dublin, Ohio. So we're just right there on the north side there. But I'd say because we're such a referral-based business, in other words, 90% of our business comes from, customers that have already used us and referred us to somebody else. And so because of that, we tend to stay a little bit more on the north end where we're located, where people know us. We sponsor all the athletics at the different schools, Westerville, Big Walnut, Dublin, and so we're on the north end, but we love to service anywhere around Central Ohio who needs us.
So if a guy from Grove City calls you, you'll go.
Yep. I was actually in Grove City on Saturday, so absolutely.
I hope it wasn't to visit him.
No, we socialize on our other radio show. We do not socialize in person.
That's right.
That's true. You have another radio show, right?
Yeah, well, we have a few, but Ryan and I do one that's about entrepreneurial activities and growth. But how I found him was through a friend of mine that I got to hear all about his company at first, and I was like, you know what? There's probably some things that you could teach some people, so why don't you sit in? And I'm not sure if he enjoys it, but he's there every week, every Wednesday.
I just show up.
Yeah.
But see, it's referrals. That's how.
Does he ask you valuable questions?
Oh, it's so much value. So much.
How
Even
else?
I had to laugh about that. I thought, there's no way I asked anything worthwhile.
We have fun. That's what's important in life.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know. You've never had me on that show.
That is not true. You've been on there. Ryan just wasn't there at the time.
Oh.
I've had you on to talk about breaking down a company as far as P&L and those kind of things. You don't even listen to your own shows that you come on as a guest.
Well, I don't listen to yours. I listen to mine every Sunday.
I'm not going to listen to this one, and I'm on it.
Okay, well, anyways,
Yeah.
back to replacement.
Ryan.
Back to Ryan. Ryan,
Yes.
I want to talk about your window. First of all, it's an award-winning window
Yes.
by Energy Star, and you can talk about that. But you know, we went through this whole discussion about, I'm going to call it structural integrity
Sure.
of the products.
Yeah.
And I want you to talk about how the window is made.
Mhm.
And then I want to get into things like hardware. I want to get into how you end up with a different color outside, inside. We'll talk about all those sort of things. But the most important thing to me, you said it earlier, if people are going to go out and make an investment in a window, and there are a ton of vinyl window companies out there today, what do you need to look for when you're buying a vinyl window?
Well, I think when you're going to buy a vinyl window, what's really important is who's installing it, who you're buying that window from.
Okay.
As you said, there's a lot of manufacturers out there, but there's a lot of contractors, and most contractors are selling the same window as another contractor, etc. In other words, there could be 10,000 manufacturers, there could be 100,000 contractors. And so with that being said, as you shop around, especially like the Central Ohio market, there's this thing called the internet, and you can get on there and you can Google the company and you can read the reviews and you can find out very quickly if this is a company you want to do business with. Now that's one thing. Now putting that aside, then you have the actual product. And my construction manager, I love when he says this. He goes, Ryan, you could take a really cheap builder grade window and just do a really excellent job installing it, making sure it fits properly and all the things that go with a really a really important, just a really great installation. And that window is going to last a long time. You can take a really expensive, fancy, top of the line, award-winning window and really screw up that installation. So that's why I always harp on who's doing the actual work is more important than what's actually, being done. And so getting away from that, if we talk about the window, nowadays vinyl has titanium dioxide in the actual vinyl, which basically fills in the vinyl with titanium, essentially, which makes the vinyl high integrity. It's going to last long, it's be more durable. It's not going to warp, as you mentioned before. It's not going to chip or fade or peel or come apart, or if you get white, it's not going to yellow or discolor. Much easier to clean.
That's in the actual vinyl extrusion?
Yeah.
Okay, which gives it now, the market's progressed, so the vinyl is, for lack of a better
Sure.
term, not as flexible or rubbery, it's more rigid.
Yeah, now keep in mind, think of like an old milk carton. It was real flimsy when you picked it
Yeah.
up, and now maybe it's a little stronger. You're mixing plastics or vinyls with more products,
Okay.
polymers. But the bottom line is not all vinyl windows have that. So those are the things you want to look for. Like, hey, does your vinyl have titanium dioxide? If it doesn't,
But if I'm a homeowner,
Yeah.
how the hell would I know to ask that?
exactly.
Hey, buddy, I'm interviewing 4 window companies. Do you have titanium? See,
Sure.
I can't even remember what you said.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, and that's where again I think the integrity of the company you're doing business with. I think somebody who is has a high reputation, a good integrity.
They're going to go through an education process.
Well, they may go through an education process, and what I found too is a lot of homeowners just don't want to hear it because they've been beat down by sales guys and three or four other.
They go and get
companies
their
that have been
4 estimates.
Yeah, they get their 4 estimates, and by the third one, they're about to, they just want 5 minutes of your time, and there's not really much to say. So, we don't really do sales pitches. We don't go in and say if you buy today, it's going to be this price, but tomorrow it's going to be this price. I mean,
Oh, geez, yeah.
that's a whole nother racket.
Yeah.
What we do is we just put our best foot forward. We know that our reputation and our reviews and everything we've done over the last several years speaks volume, speaks for itself. If somebody does care to actually learn and educate themselves today, that's where you can get on our website, you can Google, you can start learning about these things. But something just as simple as, what makes your frame strong so it doesn't warp, those are questions to ask.
We got about 3 minutes left, I think.
Well,
George?
yeah, that's about right. What I wanted to ask you, Ryan, before we get out of this today, is one of the things you've always, outside of just the window business, you are always about educating people.
Yeah.
What is like the number one thing when you're trying to talk to somebody about the Freedom Window or windows in general? Because I know you're not pitching them,
Yeah.
you're educating them. What's the number one thing they ask you, the most common thing?
What's your price?
That was my question, is that
Well, and that's
I
why
would think that would be the number one thing.
When you walk into a car dealership, you don't just say, what's your cheapest car? Now, people do say that, but you want a car that's going to last, that's not going to break down when you pull off the lot, especially if you're going to a used car dealership. There's certain questions you want to ask, and sometimes I know people that bring a car friend with them because they maybe don't know anything about cars. Well, I think it's important to maybe have a window person show up at an appointment. If you're going to take time out of your day and have a window company come over, take that seriously because they're taking time out of their day to earn your business, and they may tell you all kinds of things to get you to sign the dotted line. And if you don't know anything about windows, you're going to get duped. And in fact, the home improvement industry is number 1 in customer complaints. It's number 1 in customer dissatisfaction, and every single year it's number 1 in bankruptcy. So I'll tell you, more than any other industry, if you're going to make an investment, and I say an investment because it's your home, and as you said earlier, energy efficiency, and you end up with something, there are people who end up with windows worse than what they're replacing. They may look new, they may look nice, but they may as well just kept the windows they had, especially on the energy efficiency. So, if I can get, one thing out there is education.
Okay. We didn't get to
We didn't scratch the
anything I
surface.
wanted to really get to today.
We're still
So
sitting
guess
here.
what, Ryan? I'm not going to pay you because I don't
Okay.
have any money, but will you come back next week?
I'd love to.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What we're going to do, I think this is really important. Having done it as many times as I have, we're bringing you back next week, and then let's get into the real nitty gritty
Sure.
about what makes a good vinyl window.
It'd be a lot
And
of
let's talk about the process, because one of the other things that people complain about in the remodeling industry, they hate it.
Yeah.
It is a disruption. It's like it always falls in that top 3 or 4 stressful things in life that you have to go through, like divorce, marriage, whatever.
Windows.
Yeah. So I'll bring you back next week, and we'll continue this conversation. But in the meantime, thanks for being here today. Folks, stay tuned. Listen next week, and I promise you, we'll go through the whole process of replacing your windows. And again, we'll talk about some of the benefits to doing that. So go out today, make somebody happy, and we'll see you next week.